Hello, you're listening to Hugo Talks. Welcome to the Asylum. We are living in La La Land. It's a worldwide one flew over the cuckoo's nest, with every country having its own Nurse Ratched, a totalitarian puppet tyrant leader, demanding you take your medication, all singing from the same hymn sheet. So this is a brief bit of lockdown news. It seems all of a sudden jib-jabs are not the main event in the mainstream media. All of a sudden, here in the asylum, we've got Afghanistan, Taliban and refugees. That's taken over the news. And of course, the ongoing alpaca saga, PSYOP. Yesterday it was alpaca going to be put down. Today it's, he's given a 24-hour reprieve. Give me a break. And the relentless Afghanistan refugee story. Look at all this stuff. I mean, only a week ago it was passports and pubs and jabs and medical apartheid, no jab, no job, and all of that. Now it's taking on loads of refugees, different countries. Taliban overthrown the government. I'm not buying this nonsense. This is all manufactured, in my opinion. Look, councils urge UK to take more Afghan refugees. Independent today. Save my child. Look, they are tugging at your heartstrings there. It's just another load of propaganda to get you to go along with it, to create a situation where you feel you can't question what's going on because you will be called a heartless person. But you should question what is going on. And why are they doing this? These headlines and stories are giving them the reason, okay? And I don't buy any of it. It doesn't matter if the plane was real or not. This whole situation is manufactured, in my opinion, to bring about a worldwide resettlement. And it's not because the governments around the world have suddenly found they have a heart or have compassion. That's not the case whatsoever. They want to resettle 1 million Afghanistan people around the world. And what's the reason for that, do you think? You still think it's for the reason they're telling you? You still believe these government-sponsored mainstream media organisations? Really? Do you? I was watching last night, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's a great movie, a golden oldie. They don't seem to be making any new movies these days. That's all stopped. Anyhow, you must have seen it. Jack Nicholson in a mental hospital, where first thing every day it's medication time, and then they have music or media blasted at them through the loudspeakers so they can't think clearly or can't communicate with each other. They are locked in a lockdown, so to speak, and Jack Nicholson's character finds out in the movie, much to his shock, that the majority of the inmates are there voluntarily. They can leave any time they want, but they don't because they're too afraid to leave, because they don't trust their own minds, because they have become institutionalized. They are told what to do, when to do it by the authority figures in the film, like Nurse Ratched, who rules over them like a dictator. Is this sounding familiar to you yet? Yeah, people voluntarily locking themselves away, media overload, medication time. I saw a video a couple of days ago on the Australian news the other day of a guy who looked a bit like a bodybuilder, and he got pinged because he was with someone apparently who tested positive, and he was told that he should leave his house and go and stay in a nearby health centre facility. Yeah, and it said he happily complied with it. What the hell is going on? Happily complying. Why has he even got the app? Why is he even allowing himself to be taken out of his home into a health detention centre? Huh? Well, I believe it's propaganda. It's probably fake footage for the news to get people to comply with this in real life. It seems we are all in an asylum, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. We are all in it at the moment, and most of the inmates are just spellbound by Nurse Ratched and are just happily complying. and voluntarily are still going along with all of this nonsense. They haven't woke up to the fact that everything that is being done, that they are being told, is to keep you in that cycle of compliance. Everything that they are doing, that you're following, makes it less likely that you will ever leave the asylum or escape this. Here's another newspaper front page. UK public verdict on Afghanistan. Various things here, but the main one is, it says 60% say that the UK should give asylum to every Afghan who worked with the British military. It's another one of these manufactured surveys that they do. I suppose, if a lot of the UK military army people quit their jobs at any point in the future, maybe these people can take their place, seeing that they are trained originally by the British and US military. Especially helpful if, they defund the police and bring in martial law. You're going to need loads of extra army personnel, right? You see, if you still think that all of this is as they are stating, you think that in the blink of an eye that governments are overthrown, and all of a sudden, within days, everyone is talking about refugees and making arrangements which must have been planned ahead, then you are not only in the asylum, but you are believing the stories that the asylum owners are telling you, and you're voluntarily going along with it. It's time to wake up, okay? Sorry for the cliche. No more pussyfooting around. Wake the feck up and own the fact you have been fooled by this media spinning gobbledygook for a long time. So what was it? What was it they were saying yesterday? 30,000 going to the USA, 300 going to Texas, and 300 going to Florida in the next couple of weeks. 20,000 for the UK, 20,000 for Canada. Is it? And New Zealand and Australia in talks too. And did somebody mention ice cream? The Taliban, they like ice cream. Remember, over the last few weeks, there's been loads of images being pushed around in the media of Joe Biden eating ice cream, an obsession with ice cream. And now we have these images of the Taliban enjoying their ice cream, or reports anyway, of the Taliban eating ice cream, being pushed around everywhere. Let's put it this way, okay? Another story that you are told by the asylum owners is that you live in a democracy. In the UK, you have Labour and you have Conservative, left and right, and they all stand face to face against each other in the House of Commons and argue over whatever. But when it comes down to it, they will all agree on the serious subjects because they are both sides of the same coin, both cheeks of the same arse. Controlled opposition. Nobody who really speaks for the people is allowed in there. They are not allowed through the filters. There is no voice for the people in there. There's only pretend ones like Desmond Swine. Same bullshit with Extinction Rebellion, the billionaire-funded, elite-owned protest group. Oh, they just so happen to protest about climate change and the environment. The very same policies that the control freaks around the world want to implement. Yet you're told by the asylum owners that they are speaking up for the people. Blah, blah, blah. Nonsense. Controlled opposition. What did I say about the mainstream media? Anything that appears on the mainstream media is part of the system. And there you see, last week, the Taliban being interviewed on Sky News. The same media who reported on the Irish footballer yesterday, who died of a short illness, they said. You can see that video on hugotalks.com. I uploaded that yesterday. It's not available on YouTube. So yeah, look, it's an asylum, all right? And we need more Randall McMurphys, okay? We need more people challenging the order of the Nurse Ratchets. We need more mavericks. We need more chaos. And I don't mean violence. I mean more vocalizing, more questioning, speaking out, challenging authority. We need more people throwing the spanner in the works, breaking that silence, making people feel uncomfortable in situations where they voluntarily are happily complying, getting them to question what the hell they are doing. Because this is all heading to Looney Tunes Canyon very quickly. Okay? Talking of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and movies, have you not noticed that there are no new movies anymore? It's just all sort of stopped. And if they are making movies, they are for Netflix and streaming or whatever. And if you do hear about one of these movie star false idols these days, it's usually about getting the jab. Or like that silly cow, Jennifer Aniston, who said she didn't want to mix with the unjabbed and was getting rid of her friends who were unjabbed. You see again, if you believe this, if you are buying into this, you're voluntarily staying in the asylum. You have no chance to escape. If you don't understand that she has been told to say that in order to influence the gullible Mr. and Mrs. Normal out there to do the same, if you don't understand that, then I'm sorry, you're just not getting it. The time of movie stars and sellout pop stars is over. It's all over. They have been fooling you for the last 30 years, and a lot of them are now going to run away into one of their hideaway bunkers when the shit hits the fan. The Hollywood people, they don't need to make the movies anymore in the way or in the great numbers that they did before. The brainwashing part is over. It was to bring you to this point. That's what I think anyway. That's why everything has pretty much stopped. Things are not going back to normal. They can't. There is no way. Too much has happened. Too many things have been said and heard that cannot be unseen and unheard. And if we are to carve anything out of this, we need to think differently. We need to mobilize, get proactive, stop voluntarily, happily complying with the asylum owners. Now, getting back to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the writer of the book that the film was eventually made from was written by a guy called Ken Kesey, who as a student was asked by his neighbour, a neighbour who was a Stanford psychology graduate student, was asked to volunteer in some college drug experiments at a college in the 60s. And it wasn't until many years later that he discovered that it was actually a secret CIA-financed experiment called Project MK Ultra, which studied the effects of psychedelic drugs and all kinds of weird stuff, and some really dodgy stuff as well. But it was kept secret from the participants who thought it was just a local college thing. Back then, people didn't believe that the government would do such a thing without telling the participants or letting them know that it was funded by the CIA, the government. And they were shocked that it was kept from them. You see, they wanted guinea pigs. It's strange. So we're all in the asylum, but it takes people to challenge authority, to make things happen, to make things change, to move things forward. Just like in the movie, Randall McMurphy makes the voluntary inmates, he makes them start to question authority. He makes them rebel. He fires them up. He lights the spark. And it's the chief who eventually picks up the water fountain and throws it through the window to escape. And that act is inspired by McMurphy, who unfortunately doesn't make it. But at least he inspired the change because he refuses to comply and refuses to be quiet. Be more like that and be less like the voluntary inmate who is happily complying. As always, thanks for listening. Come and subscribe to HugoTalks.com, a place for like-minded souls who don't follow the fake stream media.